Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the Designer back at it again. Special guest on the show. We're going to have Lou Canellis join us today to break down what we saw yesterday at Chicago Bears OTAs. A very interesting OTAs with a very different vibe. Lou's seen a lot of football in this town, and it's probably been a while since he's seen the vibe we saw yesterday. We'll talk to him about that on today's episode. We do want to let you guys know that today's edition of the Chicago Bears podcast is brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura dealer. Drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field. Exit 6 right off of I-80 94. Let us bring in our special guest to the show, Lou Canellis, joining us. Lou, how are you feeling today?
Hey guys, how are you? I'm excited. I
got to go on your show. Now I get to get you on my show. This is a perfect pairing here. I love this.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours, Pat.
A little something there. This guy gets it. Listen, first things first and foremost, we want to send our prayers and love to the Irsay family. Losing Jim Irsay yesterday, owner of the Colts from Illinois, from Chicago, Illinois. Just a big pillar of the NFL. So thoughts and prayers out to the Irsay family before we get this episode started.
Yeah, Lincolnwood, Illinois, right? I believe
Lincolnwood, Illinois. Yeah.
Went to Loyola Academy, if I'm not mistaken. I know a number of my boys who played football at Loyola were friends with the Irsay family. Huge memorabilia collector. Unfortunate, just 65 years old. I saw him, Pat, once at a Bears-Colts preseason game. And I know he's just such a big Chicago guy. You know, he actually donated some money when we lost our great friend, Jeff Dickerson, to Jeff's son. So an unfortunate loss at way too early an age.
Way too early, 65 years old. My favorite Irsay story is the fact that he had an office in Chicago still for the Colts. It's my favorite thing ever. It's like, I love Illinois so much. I'm not leaving, but I own this team, so I'll be down there. Like that. That's one of my favorite things about him, man. You're always from here. Always difficult to transition out of that into football talk, but OTAs was yesterday. Got to see Lou up there yesterday, and we got to watch a practice, Lou, that I thought felt incredibly different than anything I've seen here in a long time. For the most part, first and foremost, the fact that it was an hour and a half practice that we got to really take a look at there. The Bears were really out there. Ben Johnson was fiery. What was your takeaway from that first OTA practice that we got a chance to lay our eyes on?
Man, I loved it. I love this guy, Pat. I'll tell you what. He comes in with the credentials. I mentioned this last night on air. You know, the Bears have won 15 total games the last 3 seasons. This guy was part of a team that won 15 games in 1 season. Listen to him. Yeah. Look at the success he's had. Learn from him. And even if you're set in your ways, you'll have to change them because there's a new sheriff in town. And this team was begging for structure, was begging for discipline last season, and now they've got it. And he is filled with energy. I sat down, I talked with him at the NFL owners meetings back in March in Palm Beach. He is an intense MF, man. Listen, he may not look like a linebacker, but he brings it every day. And his expectation is that his players and coaches bring it like he brings it.
Yeah, listen, we saw it yesterday, right? Everyone's talking about the big moment with Cole Kmet on the field. But Lou, the moment I took away from that, and it's been a while since I've seen something like this, he didn't allow them to run the play. He told him, fix it. Like, you got to get it right. And he's going at Cole. And they all kind of just go, okay, well, we'll just run it again. And everybody get lined up right. And he's like, no, take it back to the huddle. I feel like we haven't seen somebody see a mistake and immediately say, that's not how we're going to do this. We're going to do it right from beginning to end, probably since Lovie Smith was here. And that is how J-Mac, who's on this podcast, we had Briggs on the podcast before, of course, they always talked about how Lovie dealt with things.
Yeah, that's why Lovie was so effective as a head coach, and he had the respect of his players. You may be more demanding, but it's all about your players respecting you. And all these guys, the leadership council from last year, they were begging for accountability because there were certain members of this team that were not being held accountable. And now everyone will be accountable. It's the only way to change the narrative around a team that's been in last place in the NFC North, and if I'm not mistaken, for the last 5 seasons. And now this is arguably the best division in football. And the only way to get better is to hold your fellow teammate accountable for doing things right, for working hard, for watching film. And I'm not taking a shot at Caleb Williams because I wasn't at Halas Hall. But if the man wasn't watching film like he is expected to watch, even as a rookie, even if his offensive coordinator and head coach, in his opinion, aren't qualified, then shame on him. And that's going to change today because you're a professional athlete and there are expectations for the money you are paid that one demands at that position. So I'm using Caleb as an example because it was a big topic of discussion this week, Pat, about Caleb not watching enough game film last year. He will watch more than he wants to. Remember, when Ben Johnson took the job, Pat, he said, players better be prepared to be uncomfortable. They are going to hate me. But in the end, they'll love me because I'm going to turn them into winners.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Lou, right? Like he didn't say that to us. We were just kind of there in the media room, right? He was looking right at Caleb Williams when he said that. He was looking right at DJ Moore when he said that. They were also in the room for that introductory press conference. And I think that's the part of this that I do love and why this does feel different. You've seen a lot of head coaches come through here to Chicago. We all have at this point. I mean, if you're over 20 years old, you've seen about 5 different head coaches on the Chicago Bears, and I'm a little older than 20, Lou. But the scenario I think that you even bring up with the article that was brought out about Caleb Williams and watching film and all of those things, we saw Ben Johnson yesterday not shy away like we've seen from the past couple of head coaches, not go, we're going to keep it internal. I talked with him. It's okay. We've worked everything out. Tomorrow's going to be a brand new day. Ben Johnson took that message head on. He was like, no, listen, this article came out. My quarterback's been in the news. Here's what I have to say about it. We're not going to talk about this anymore. Good. And I liked it from this standpoint. It felt like you could have sent Caleb Williams out there to talk and stand at the podium. But why am I going to put that added pressure on my quarterback right now? I need him to figure out what he's doing on the field before he starts taking daggers in the media. Did you like the fact that the Bears didn't send Caleb Williams up there to talk yesterday and that Ben Johnson kind of took on that role of, I'll be the face of this organization?
Well, I'm glad that Johnson took it on and he actually addressed it before he even took questions from the media. You were there, Pat.
Yeah.
I do want Caleb to address it sooner than later because until he talks about it, it's going to be a topic of discussion. And it's something that takes away from the focus on what kind of growth this team is going through with OTAs, mini camp, then an OTA before everyone breaks for the summer, and then training camp. It's not going away. The media is not going to let it go away. Too many people, not only Chicago media, national media, NFL Network's talking about it. Boomer Esiason on The Fan in New York is going after Caleb Williams. Address it.
Yeah.
Address it, and then it's in the past. And I know fans who are watching this podcast right now are like, move on. The media will not, you cannot tell the media what to do. The media will move on when they're ready to move on, and they're not ready to move on yet. So I agree with you in one respect in that, you know what, he's got enough on his plate this week, first week of OTA. You know, they had one practice before the media was let in on Wednesday. But I'd like to see him address it next week because I'm tired of talking about it, and I'm sure Caleb and his teammates are tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. It was something that was asked to almost everybody that came in the room yesterday about the article. And I mean, everybody had the same answer, which I think is It also shows everybody lined up in a different way than what we've seen last year. I mean, last year, Lou, by the end of the season, Matt Eberflus comes out, he tells us one thing. We got one player on a podcast telling us another. We've got another player on a radio show telling us another thing. Everybody's all over the place. The Bears seem very in unison right now, and we'll see how they do handle this Caleb Williams situation. But I like the fact that, out of this, I think we're getting a team that almost feels like they're all in one mindset of, that is what it is. It's the past. We can't do anything about it. Let's go win football games.
Yeah, let me throw this out there. There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
By the way, he was the hottest commodity out there when this team was looking for a head coach. And this organization, for the first time in its history, paid a premium to bring in the best available head coach. 13 million reasons a season why Ben Johnson is the only man that matters. Everyone else, including Caleb Williams, is replaceable. Ben Johnson did not draft Caleb Williams. If Ben Johnson finds it difficult to work with Caleb Williams will be on the trade market. Ooh. Okay? Montez Sweat, if he does not work his ass off like Ben Johnson expects him to work, he will be on the trade market. No one on this roster is untouchable. Tom Brady does not exist on this roster. So they all have been sent a warning. One man's opinion matters, and it's the head coach. And I like it like that because for too long, this organization brought in coordinators, okay? Even Lovie Smith was a coordinator before he was a head coach. Coordinators who were given a chance to be a head coach. This guy, is a coordinator, given the chance to be a head coach. But by the way, he's so well respected in the NFL that many treat him like a head coach who's won Super Bowls. He hasn't even won a Super Bowl yet.
Yeah.
That's how well respected he is.
He's got the respect. And you know what it is, though? You see how he worked. We saw how he worked yesterday, right? And I feel like how some people are reporting the Ben Johnson blow up. You would think that Ben Johnson was screaming the entire practice. Lou, I don't know if you were like me. I spent all practice looking for Ben Johnson. I was like, where is he?
I couldn't find him.
We couldn't find him. Literally, Ben Johnson is the friend. I keep saying this. He's the friend that you go to the bar with, that you turn around and you're like, where did he go? Like, I got you a beer. Where'd you go? And then he calls you later. He's like, oh, yeah, I had to go. I had to dip out real quick. I'll see you later. Like, that's how Ben Johnson is. That's how invisible he is on the field. But the moments that he's blowing up, dare I say, and I don't know if Cole Kmet was lined up right. He did something that Ben Johnson didn't like. There were a couple times where we saw Ben blow up a little bit. But it was because, dare I say, he felt like you should know this already. He's not yelling at you for no reason. This is not I don't know, how some of the previous coaches have been that are more of the screaming type coaches, but some coaches that I had growing up, right, they're yelling to yell. Right. You walk in and you're screaming just to be screaming. Like you feel like this is the tone that needed to be set in the room. Ben Johnson's not doing that. He's yelling for a reason. And I think that builds up that respect of, hey, he'll get on you, but you'll know exactly why he's getting on you.
And you know what's interesting? What's interesting, Pat, is that it was Cole Kmet, a guy that everyone loves, a guy who was part of the leadership council, a guy who, and again, we haven't heard who the captains will be on this team. Right, but who's respected inside that Bears locker room like a captain, got in front of the mics, even during the tough 10-game losing streak last season. So he's well respected by his teammates. And even he was told in front of his teammates, get it together, do it right. So everyone's open game now. It's not like there's any, teacher favorites. This is, hey, man, Cole Kmet, you were in the wrong spot. You're making a lot of money at $50 million a season, and I expect better from you.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you. Like I think we all were shocked that Cole. I don't think I've seen Cole be yelled at ever. First off, and then I think we all were a little shocked when it was like, oh, like he's really going after Cole right now. Like, but I think Cole, that sends such a different message, Lou.
Yeah, and Cole, Pat, Cole. Man, Cole's is great. Number one of the all-time great guys I've met in my business. 40 100%. Years now I'm going on. All right. A true gentleman, works his ass off. I think is just I'm proud to call him a Chicago kid, and he expects better from himself. Cole doesn't take that personally.
Yeah.
Cole was probably embarrassed and said, damn, I got to be better next time. I'm going to be better Thursday at OTA.
Yeah, and listen, I think here's the thing for me. It was one of your high-paid guys. It was one of your top guys. It was one of the leaders of your team. Remember last year, Lou, one of the high-paid top guys who was supposed to be a leader of your team, but we could never seem to get him on the field in Nate Davis, or as we have dubbed him here, Nate Day-to-Day Davis. You never heard a word about him. Why isn't he playing? Is there a problem? Is there an issue? He's dealing with some stuff. Okay, he's kind of an important piece on this team. You're going to put him at starting right guard no matter what to start this season. Like, Ben Johnson's not even there. He's like, there is no depth chart. You got to earn your role here. And now there's certain players. Listen, I don't expect Tyson Bagent to win out QB1, but for most of these positions, it is a earn your role type of spot. And Cole Kmet's not even above that. I thought that was something valuable from yesterday.
We're talking about quarterbacks here. Listen, you're right. I don't expect Tyson Bagent to win the number one job during training camp either. But let me let you in on something. They love Tyson Bagent.
100%.
They love him. Okay. Case Keenum, great veteran, will bring some, moxie leadership to that quarterback's room that they desperately need. This organization loves Tyson Bagent. And if Caleb, and in no way am I saying that he's going to be replacing Caleb Williams, because I'm the biggest Caleb Williams fan. I have tooted his horn since the offseason. I think what he did last year, despite 68 sacks, despite the 10-game losing streak, despite having an offensive coordinator that we're learning he didn't respect even before the guy took the job, before having a head coach who knew very little about the offense. I thought what Caleb Williams pulled off last year was a miracle. All right. His fourth quarter numbers, go look at them. They were great. They weren't good. They were really good. Okay. For a rookie, they were really good with no support, with no offensive line, with no running game. Okay. And like I said, lack of leadership from his coaches. But having said that, if it doesn't work with Caleb, this team has no problem putting Tyson Bagent in that spot.
That would be an interesting development, because the question would be, didn't Ben Johnson come here to work with the quarterback, work with the guy that he feels is elite? I'd be shocked by that if they made a quick turnaround on that in 1 year, learn it early. You wouldn't
be a quick turnaround. I'm talking about that Caleb Williams, listen, Ben Johnson has said that the coach and quarterback have to be one, in sync. It worked in Detroit with Jared Goff. Jared Goff went through struggles in LA, okay? And he, at his age, appreciated what Ben Johnson was bringing to the table. And I don't have his numbers in front of me, but if you look at his quarterback rating in the 3 years he worked with Ben Johnson, he got better each and every year, to the point that last season he was in the MVP voting, all right? Yep. And no one is hurt more than Jared Goff that Ben Johnson left. My hope and my expectation is that Caleb Williams and his father see that the Messiah has been dropped in their lap at Halas Hall, and this guy is going to make Caleb Williams the generational quarterback that we all thought this team was drafting with the number one pick.
Yeah. That's the goal right there. Just find a way to get him to be in that. You mentioned Jared Goff in this conversation. Last season for Jared Goff, 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 72% completion rating. I'm not going to lie to you. I could live with a quarterback.
And Big Pat, I think a quarterback rating of like 111.
111 quarterback rating, yes.
When you look at his quarterback rating the last 3 seasons, no bear in the history of this franchise has ever had the quarterback rating that Jared Goff had in 3 seasons with Ben Johnson. I get it, the bar is low here in Chicago, but still.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you look at, and I think the excitement of Ben Johnson is, we remember what we thought of Jared Goff. Jared Goff was the throw-in piece in that Rams trade. It was, you got to send him a quarterback. They got to have somebody to play. The conversation that first year was he's a bridge guy. Yeah, I mean, you'll get there. All of a sudden, last season, you're talking about a 111 QBR. He had a 5 interception game in that season. What was he doing in the other games to maintain a 111.8 QBR? Like,
Crazy
those are the
number.
goals that you're trying to get out of Caleb Williams, where it's like, you don't have to have every gift available to you like Caleb Williams does talent-wise.
And I'm hoping, and I truly believe that Caleb will embrace everything Ben Johnson expects and demands from him. That's what I'm excited about, because Caleb really impressed me, man. Pat, this is no knock on Caleb Williams. Like I said, I am his biggest supporter. I am his biggest fan. I am so appreciative of what he went through last season. You look at those games that they lost, that they should have won. Okay, the Packers game, the Lions games, the Vikings overtime contest, the Washington finish. Man, he was the guy that even put them in a position to win. And we can't forget that. So I appreciate everything he did last year. And I hate that I've even sounded like I'm questioning it. I know he is embracing everything that Ben Johnson is bringing to the table. And this kid's going to work harder. He's going to be first guy in, last guy out of Halas Hall, because he understands what Ben Johnson can turn him into. And that is a generational quarterback, the best quarterback in that draft. I don't want to hear that Jaden Daniels, that the Bears blew it, that they should have brought in Daniels for, a workout and a meeting. No. Caleb Williams is still my money to be the best quarterback that came out of last year's draft.
Well, you've seen the history of quarterback here a ton, Lou, right? Like, there is no quarterback that has taken the beating that Caleb Williams took last season and came out of it on the other side, and you were like, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's pretty good. Jay Cutler took a beating like how Caleb Williams did, and we were like, Jay's going to die, and he's not very good when he's getting hit that much. Justin Fields took a beating very similar to how Caleb Williams did, and we were like, he has no ability to do anything if he's getting hit this much. You have to help him. Caleb went through this and gave you a 3,500-yard season and 20 touchdowns.
And he didn't piss and moan for a second. He did not piss and moan or throw a teammate under the bus. Not once. Not once did he pull a Cutler and tell the media to go pound sand after a football game. That guy wheeled his ass out to the press conference after every single beating he took during the regular season. He was available for us on Wednesdays when it was time for him to talk to the media. I'm telling you, the kid, I have great respect for him. Just like I do have respect for, and I don't know if you wanted to get to it, I have respect for he and his father.
100%.
And listen, what happened last year or prior to the draft, that's their business. They're not the first guys that tried to circumvent the draft. All right. And shame on Boomer Esiason to tell Caleb Williams to shut his pie hole on the radio in New York like he did. Did he forget that John Elway told the Baltimore Colts, see ya? Did he forget that Eli Manning told the Chargers better not draft me, so forced to trade to the Giants? Did he forget that in 1984, he said, I'm not going to go play for the Colts because they bolted out of Baltimore in the middle of the night while I was going to Maryland, and I grew up a Maryland Terp. And no, so stop.
That was the part I was going to get to when you brought up Boomer. I think Boomer has gotten to the point where he's forgotten that he was the guy who literally was like, do not draft me. I will not come play for you. Like that is the funniest part of all of this. Like, Boomer, this literally was you. And you're the one that wants to go, oh, well, he's playing in an NFL built off of our shoulders, which it is. It is built off of it. He didn't say something wrong there, but it's just the hypocrisy of that statement when I heard it around Caleb Williams. I was like, did I forget this? There's an entire documentary about Boomer not coming to the Colts. So I don't know. That's one of those where I was like, all right, the age might be getting to him a little bit, but I'll respect to Boomer.
Still does a great job. Listen, man, his work on CBS and what he does in the mornings on the Fan. New York is not an easy place to work, and he has made a career out of it. So I have the utmost respect for him. I just disagree on his rant against Caleb.
Yeah, that one it just was like, okay, this feels like what they say, the pot calling the kettle black. That's how it felt on that one. Getting back to OTAs a little bit here, Lou, before we get you up out of here, and we appreciate you coming on the show. Who was somebody that stood out to you outside of course, the Ben Johnson rant, which has been the big conversation? Who was somebody on the field that stood out to you when you were standing there watching?
Well, let me bring up a couple of different things that I saw. I mean, remember, these guys are running around in shorts, Pat.
Yes.
It's like you and I playing in Oak Lawn on the street on 96th and Colmar, where I grew up. And me throwing a bomb to Pat, the designer, and hitting him in stride. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'd have caught it.
You would have caught it. I know
you would have
caught it. And you would have taken it to the house. You would have taken it all the way to 97th Street. And
Absolutely.
I would have chased your ass down the street. Here, a couple of observations I had. I mean, Odunze had a great grab along the sidelines. I know that the two tried to hook up Caleb and Odunze on a long ball that Odunze couldn't hold on to. But a couple of observations. Number one, Karan Amagaji starting at left tackle with the first team. I'm happy to see that. I really am. Obviously, Braxton is out right now. Braxton Jones still recovering from the ankle surgery. I think we need to step back and think about the position that Karan Amagaji was thrown into last year. Mm-hmm. All right. And throwing him out there to the Wolves, arguably the most aggressive defense in football. Any Brian Flores Vikings defense always is, with no practice ahead of time. And he's a rookie who missed half of the season. Cut the kid some slack. So I was happy to see him starting out there. I was a little surprised to see Trapillo out there with the second team at left tackle. He's only played a handful of games. I think back in 2022, he may have played 14 games at left tackle. But let's see if the kid can play, especially with Braxton Jones in the last year of his contract. And we don't know what's going to happen with Amagaji. Noah Sewell starting at strong side linebacker. And this guy's played 52 snaps on defense in 2 years. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, we knew there was an opportunity there when Jack Sanborn, when the Bears decided not to tender him a contract as a restricted free agent, and Jack followed Matt Eberflus to Dallas. There's an opportunity. Not going to get a lot of snaps, obviously, with the amount of, nickel that the Bears play. But there's an opportunity to start for a third-year player who was drafted in the 5th round, who's played a handful, 52 snaps on defense in 2 seasons, and then a bunch of snaps at special teams. And the last one I'll give you was I love watching the offense. Next Wednesday, when we're allowed back there, Pat, keep your eye on the offense breaking the huddle. Man, they broke the huddle and sprinted to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And it's part of Ben Johnson's offense of get to the line of scrimmage as fast as possible. We will be in better shape than the defense. Maybe we'll catch them not ready, and let's get ourselves into a rhythm. I love seeing that.
Yeah, how they got out of the huddle, that was something that stood out to me. One, Caleb calling the play in the huddle seemed like, for the most part, the operation was clean, was crisp. Of course, we talk about the one play with Cole Kmet, but it seemed like the getting into the huddle, calling the play, getting out of the huddle, getting lined up, that was quicker than we saw it at OTAs last season. Again, Caleb, a new quarterback in the NFL, very different situation. But this is a new system. He's kind of like a rookie again.
Yeah, 4 new offensive linemen. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, I was actually impressed to see how they were getting out there. The execution was a little off, like you said. Caleb, now I will say, for the people, there were a lot of people that complained about the deep ball accuracy. It's an OTA. He should be hitting the deep ball. But that ball to Rome Odunze was a gorgeous ball, and Rome just couldn't bring it in. After that, Rome basically caught anything that was thrown remotely his way. So I would assume that he's going to catch more of those than not in the game. The one thing that I think I'm not going to say it surprised me. They're going to give Karan Amagaji a chance. And I wasn't shocked by that. I did think we would see Ozzie a little bit more with the ones, because clearly, and I think you can say this with Karan as well, there's an effort here to replace Braxton Jones. You didn't go out and draft a left tackle last season and draft someone who is a right tackle who you want to move to left tackle this season to not try and go out there and replace Braxton Jones and upgrade that position. I did think we'd see Ozzie a little bit more with the ones. Karan had a rough first snap. He basically didn't stand up. And then after that, he seemed like he was a little bit more comfortable. But I've still got my question marks out on Karan. He was thrown to the Wolves last year. I agree. You could have gave him a tight end to chip or something off of the edge versus that defense that was blitzing him. But it was one of those situations where I do wonder if that's going to be the competition where the second round pick from this season maybe usurps the third round pick from last season.
Probably. All right. At some point, but like you said at the top of the podcast here, you don't want to give the kid too much too quickly.
Yeah.
And it was the second time he was on the field with his teammates, a rookie. Okay. And let's let him fit in the locker room, fit in with guys like Tooney. Something else that I love seeing him, man. I saw an animated Jonah Jackson, who's looking at this as a great opportunity to show all his detractors that last year was just a bad season, a season in which he was dealing with injuries. I saw an animated Darnell Wright, who for the most part is relatively quiet. And I just felt a juice in that offensive line that I was watching that I never saw last year. I saw an offensive line last year that was kind of feeling its way. No one knows who's starting. No one knows who's staying. Is Tevin Jenkins playing? Is he not playing? You couldn't get settled. And if you can't get settled on your offensive line, man, look at the Super Bowl teams. Look at the Chiefs. Look at the Eagles. Those teams consistently, year after year, are settled on the offensive line and have quality depth. And I think that this is something this Bears team is working towards, quality depth on the guys up front, not only on offense, defense as well.
Yeah, it might actually be hard to make this team, Lou. I'll ask you this before I get you up out of here, because seeing the practice yesterday, I was surprised by an hour. It was about an hour and a half practice that we got yesterday. I was surprised by that on day 2 of OTAs. That practice to me felt like the Chicago Bears hadn't had a practice like that in the last 3 years in totality. I've been to a lot of practices. I've been to training camp practices. I thought that day 2 of OTAs was one of the most aggressive, actual meaningful practices where guys were actually working on things and may have actually gotten better that I've seen in the past 3 years. Am I losing my mind on that?
No, you're not losing your mind. And I think that this coaching staff, not only Ben Johnson, remember, he has surrounded himself with veteran assistant coaches. Richard Smith, friend. I've been to dinner with Richard. His wife and my wife are good friends. This guy is the oldest assistant coach in football. He's been doing this for over 50 years, working with the Bears linebackers. Next time you go out there next Wednesday, Pat, keep an eye on the old man working with the linebackers. Watch Tremaine Edmonds, all right? Watch Edwards. Watch Sewell. They're listening to this guy. I love it. Dennis Allen, been a head coach twice in this league. Okay. There is a respect that this coaching staff demands, and I'm excited about it. And if they demand a practice day 2 that one would expect in training camp, then you better deliver. And that's what we saw on Wednesday of this week. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see more, because we don't know what's happening on the days that we're not invited. And we're invited one day, one of 3 days. We don't know what's going on in those meetings. We don't know how these coaches are calling out players that aren't doing the job the proper way. Yeah. It's great, because for too long, since the Lovey days, since Vic Fangio was around, all right, we've been dealing with coaches who just, I haven't felt like a few, okay, but coaches who just hadn't been in the position long enough to get a veteran to respect what they were saying. I feel like these veterans are respecting this coaching staff already. Now, listen, they open up 0-6. No one's respecting anyone.
Right.
But, and I think this team will be put in the right position. Today we learned that they're going to open up the preseason against Miami on August 10th. Home game, noon kickoff on the radio, on ESPN radio, and on Fox Television. Okay.
Of course.
And then, the two flagships of the Bears, you guys on radio and Fox on television. We'll have the other two preseason games. And then let me end before we kiss off this show. I'm jacked about the schedule. I get it. It's a bitch. And it's, on paper, according to last year's records, second most difficult, which, I have a tough time subscribing to that, but let's just play that out.
You don't know how injuries and stuff is going to play out. So you never know. Yeah.
But I do know this. That we in the media like to say, oh, you got to get off to a great start. Yeah. Who doesn't want to get off to a great start? Not every team, not all 32 teams win all their games at the start. Having said that, I think the Minnesota game is a great opportunity for the Bears. J.J. McCarthy's first regular season game, if he stays healthy. Game 2, man, that's going to be a bear. I don't know if you've been to Ford Field, Pat, but that crowd's going to be lathered up, and they are going to let this guy have it.
It's going to be so much worse than a normal game.
Oh, my gosh. And
they're going to do everything they can to go to bed. They feel like he abandoned them, like he took the Bear job before the playoff game. So it's going to be extra.
I know. Game 3, I think, is going to be tougher than what people expect. Matt Eberflus is coming to Soldier Field, and I know that we all thought he was an awful head coach, and he called himself a CEO, and he didn't do a good job as CEO of that team. Yeah. But I will say this about Flus. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. Yes. And we're going to find out because he's a D coordinator now at the Cowboys. All right. And I think that Matt Eberflus knows of all of Caleb Williams' warts, and it's going to be a tough go of it, even at Soldier Field. If the Bears were to open up 1-3, don't jump off the ship. I love that the bye is week 5. Yeah. He's a young coach. It's his first year in this position. It would give him the ideal time to sit down with his veteran coaching staff and say, okay, where are we going wrong? How can we fix it? Because if you look at what he did in Detroit, and I'll end with this, Pat, he took an offense that I believe was 28th in the NFL in scoring, and in his first season, they went from 28th to 5th, and they didn't open the season knocking anyone's socks off. I think they got off to a horrible start. And then
1-6, I believe that first year. 1-6, 1-7.
Thank you. So he turned it around. Okay. Year 2, 5th in scoring. Year 3, number 1 in scoring, 65, 68 touchdowns, 33 points a game. This guy is great. We scream about adjustments all the time, partner. This guy's all about adjustments. Yeah. He's really smart. And now he's got guys who've been doing this a lot longer than he has that are on his team helping him.
Yeah. You talk about adjustments. I think that is the biggest difference here. Last year, the adjustments was the big problem. And when Shane Waldron came in, I remember talking to Seattle beat reporters and being like, okay, well, what is Shane Waldron? What are some of his warts? It was like, he doesn't run the ball enough and he's got bad halftime adjustments. I was like, we just fired that guy. We just got rid of that guy. so we might be in a little bit of trouble. We see how that played out. I will say I was excited. I don't know about you. I was excited yesterday when that Philly game for that Philly game even more now with Ben Johnson going, I'm not a big tush push guy. You better be able to defend it, baby. No, he's taking on all the pressure. Lou,
I know George voted against it or wasn't in favor of it. That's for sure. He's not in favor of the tush push, but George, the way it was explained was George isn't in favor of it because he's worried about injury, and there's just not enough data. And the fact that they got Jason Kelsey in front of that group of owners who said, listen, I did not leave this game because of injuries or because of what the tush push did to me. And until they have enough data that proves that guys are getting hurt because of the tush push, I think it may stick around. And the reality is, if I'm the Bears and I'm Ben Johnson, it's not number one on my list, but I'd start to, hey, maybe put it in our offensive game plan.
Hey, you heard Ben Johnson yesterday. It's not explosive. It's not explosive. He wants to run an offensive lineman pass play to Caleb Williams, get him out in space. You know, we're not getting that explosive play.
I get it, but he's got a pretty good offensive line now, so take advantage of it.
Yeah, I can't imagine walking in that room like, all right, Tooney, we got a new play for you. Get ready for this. Like what I just walk into right now?
Hey man, you got $51 million in the pocket. Now we gotta get our money's worth.
Lou, we appreciate you joining the show. You guys can catch Lou on just about every Fox Chicago Bears show that there is. Bears Game Day Live, Bears Game Night Live, Fox Sunday Morning, Sunday nights as well. Bears Recap, Bears Blitz on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So make sure to tune in with him. You got all the shows, Lou, so we appreciate you coming on. What is your prediction for this season? You got our prediction on the Fox show. I got to get your prediction here. What's your record prediction for the season?
So you got to remember, Chicago kid, grew up in Oak Lawn, Bears season ticket holder since I was 4. Godfather left me his season tickets in his will. He had them when they were at Wrigley. So no one drinks the Kool-Aid more than Lou. But and so I'm honest up front.
Right. I'm with you.
I really believe, seriously, I believe this team can win 10 games. And I know I'm going on a limb. I wanted to say 9 and 8, but I am going to go out on a limb a little bit. And here's why. Because of the games that I referenced earlier, that Caleb put them in a position to win. The Detroit games, the Packers game that they lost, the Washington game, and the Minnesota overtime game. If they win 2, just 2 of those, it's a different narrative, man. It's about, hey, they finished 7 and 10. Matt Eberflus might still be head coach if they win 2 of those games, if he doesn't have the meltdown in Detroit. So I look at this team as
not as far away, right?
They should have won 7. It shouldn't be a 5-12 team, a 7-win team. And did they fix the holes? Oh my God, that offensive line, look at it. Look at it with a fine-tooth comb. It's 100% better, that offensive line. And defensively, Dio better step up. He's $16 million a year. All right, he better deliver. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Sweat's good for double-digit sacks. Never has been in his career. Never has been a double-digit sack guy, except for the one season where he, split it between Chicago and Washington. Yeah. So I'm expecting big things from Dio. I'm expecting big things from Grady Jarrett. I'm expecting monster things from Gervon Dexter, who, when Andrew Billings was on that field, had 4 sacks in 5 games. Right. And when Big Bill got injured, week 8, his production fell off the cliff. So I'm expecting big things. I think it's a deeper team. And I feel like it has the legitimate chance to win 10 games. And I'll go a step further. They're going to win 10 games and win 1 playoff game. Things happen slowly. That's why I'm not expecting – listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to go compete for a Super Bowl. If they do, man, the Lord has been watching over us, and so is Leo the Pope.
It's the Pope.
Okay. But I think that this team has really set itself up well to show improvement, vast improvement in year 1, and then take a serious step in years 2 and 3, which is why Tooney, Jackson, Dahlman, all these guys are 3 years now. We're going to know in 3 years, Caleb Williams. At that time, you'll know if you got to pony up, if you're going to give him the mega deal, year 4 of his rookie deal. We're going to see, I think, quick growth with this team, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I've got them at 9 and 8. Somehow we did the schedule. So this is me and you are the same, Lou. I have them at 9 and 8 in my head. We go through the schedule blind on the show, right? All of a sudden, they're 10-7. I was like, how'd I get? Wait, I did some math wrong on that. Wait a minute. I go through it a second time. Now we're 11-6. Well, I can see this game flipping here. Like, all right, let me put this away. Let me watch a few training camp practices before I do this schedule again. Lou, we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you taking the time out, and we appreciate you guys out there for watching us. Thank you, Lou, and we would love to have you back on later in the season.
Thank you, buddy. Bring me on again. I'd love it.
Absolutely will do. You guys stay safe out there as well. Drop your prediction and reaction to this episode in the comments below. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bed down. One love. Peace.